we going to go to blue as well in the background?
We can.
The background will change in itself.
No.
You're live.
And welcome everyone to the Super Bowl special. We are going to be having some special guests coming on in just a moment because they are the winners of the remote viewing of the Super Bowl from the 3 objects we have. I want to welcome Natalie to this incredible inaugural run of the studio.
Yeah, thanks,
That
Andrew.
is right.
Wow, this is just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
We actually got to do some recordings earlier today, and we were working out the final level of the kinks, and we had the Millennium Falcon wrench, and we went bang, and it worked. It's called manifestation today. As you can see in the glorious solar flares behind us, Natalie.
Yes, I know that. I mean, they're quite incredible, aren't they? It's just you just look at this and you're just enveloped in this feeling on fire somehow. It's great.
You know, to have all this coming to fruition at this point after a beginning of the year where we filmed the Alchemy series, and that's going to be coming out in just a short period of time. But I just want to thank everyone that's joined the show that's here at Galactic Historian /live. And this station is going to be upgraded even more. We are bringing some things out to you that are going to be outstanding. This is just the first sample of some of the stuff that we'll be bringing forward to you. Mm-hmm. So, Natalie, let's introduce the center crystals that we have over here.
Okay, well, here we have Joshua, and here we have Jacob. And these guys, they're big, really large, rough pieces of tourmaline. And we've used these in a whole bunch of grids. You actually sort these stones out personally.
The Quartzsite, Arizona.
Out. Yeah, and these stones have done some amazing stuff. And when we were going through what we wanted to put on the desk, these guys just started just showing themselves. And then when we realized when we place it in front of you guys, they've just got all these amazing, incredible angles.
Yeah,
so
these are big pieces of black tourmaline.
Yeah. And so when we play around with all the different things in the studio, you'll start to see as we get a little bit more savvy with all of this technology of, you know, the different backgrounds. But these 2 stones really wanted to make themselves known today to you guys. So we thought, you know, last time we had Himshi, so today we would introduce Joshua and Jacob. So, yeah. Hi guys.
They will be regular fixtures in the news show coming up. With one of the things that this way we have our studio set up here, we are going to be showing you a whole new way of interacting. But right now we want to bring in some of the people that are going to be on the call here. So just a second here, let me go ahead and call in and bring the callers in.
This is all new technology, so let's see if we can get this working. The silences.
There we go. Ring-a-ding-ding, ring-a-ding-ding.
This call is being recorded.
Here we go.
There's a bit of interference there.
Callers, can you hear us? Callers, are you there?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Call them in.
Okay. So we are going to be joined by Christian, Radovic, and Cheryl.
And all 3 of the...
Oh, we have Radojov in here too also, yes. And welcome everyone to the studios. As we're bringing the guests in here in just a second, let's just wonder and marvel at the technology that we've brought together to here, because this is the next level of knowing, this next level of sharing. These images that will be coming along with the great amounts of words that are going to be coming out are really going to help a lot of people have a much better understanding of how to see multidimensional, hear multidimensional, understand conversations with yourself.
Yeah, and we're hoping that when we're able to share the experiences of some of the things that we've experienced, and then some of the people that we're going to bring in on the show, that they talk from their own knowingness, and then we'll endeavor to give you the graphics as well, so that you're hearing the words, you're getting the images. Hopefully with the words, you'll also start to get some of the frequencies and the vibrations and the feelings that emanate then yourself, and that hopefully might help trigger you to some of your own memories.
So, callers, are you here?
Hi.
Yeah.
And who is this? This is Rachel. Radijov, are you there? Radivov, are you there?
Are you there?
Yes, we're here. How you doing today?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. And your name, please?
Christy.
Christy. Ah, well, you guys are the winners of the Super Bowl special. You know, each of you were able to put a remote view in, and you were able to get it right. So we're going to go one by one here. So why don't we have Christy, you do introduce yourself real quick.
Well, my name is Christy, as you know. I'm loving all of this stuff that we're involved with. I love being a part of the League of Consciousness. I love this little game that we played. But I have a question off the bat.
Mhm.
I mean, I got the Super Bowl score right. I didn't get the teams right as
Right.
far as who won.
Because the name of the game was accuracy, and you got the numbers right. I didn't ask you to get the teams right, the score.
Yeah, I got the numbers right.
Yeah.
Because I did know that. Now the first envelope that you had that was like the number one that you had put up,
Yep.
I had said there was a Statue of Liberty.
Mhm.
And then the second one I put was a swan. And it was interesting because on both of those I picked up the subliminal messages. Meaning the card behind the card was your clock that looks kind of like a sun.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, when you're remote viewing or when you're trying to remote view, how to filter out those subliminal messages. Because even a swan looks like a number 2. And I put swan on a lake. I knew there was water.
When you're doing pattern associations, it's about what you can begin to translate out into some method or format of either a... See, the limitations of 10 words made it very, very tough. So you can't generally translate an empathic emotion into a written word always. Especially something like sailboat or something like Earth or the numbers to the Super Bowl. You need something that gives you a deep spiritual synopsis or understanding synopsis so that you can translate it into something that's very limited. The subliminal messages that generally come in that scenario, they're generally your own whispers. We did a lot of clearing on the cards themselves, but there's also the thing where you had hundreds of people that were simultaneously doing it. As for actual subliminal messages, how do I describe this? How do you clear those? It's anything that's subliminal is catching you on a ring of yourself, where you're having a conversation and then there's the echo and the ring back of your own self-reflection of what you're saying. And deeply empathic people can be so on their voice of what they're saying and how it's impacting other people that it can create this echo and ring back, which creates self-programming subliminal messages, or makes their situation where subliminal messages that are just created by other scenarios because people put them out in the world in knowingness and unknowingness, you could be more susceptible to them. So creating a filter that stops that is critical. How does one do that? It's knowing how your throat chakra interacts with your third eye, because your throat and your third eye are creating voice and spirit energy and imagery at the same time. Just as people are looking at me and you've got the screen that's changing behind and all the other things that are going on here, your throat is creating an energetic pattern that your third eye is creating imagery with, that when you're remote viewing ultimately can be created into something that manifests into the required action in the remote view. Okay. Now, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. What helped me is a lot of people actually have these kinds of things coming up when they're doing the remote view, and they're really practicing and they're starting to sift out what is theirs and what they're actually remote viewing. And for me personally, what really helped, and I know Andrew and I play this game a lot, is we have, you can get like cards like that have the ABC on them, the letters of the alphabet. And on one side they have the letter, and on the other side they just have a, you know, like it's just blank or a design. or you can get numbers, you know, where you can get like a set of 50 sort of things that you use, for example, when you're teaching children. You know, you can go into a kid's shop and buy that. And then what you can do is you can start with 10. Just pick out 10. Don't realize from the 20 what they are, or pick out 3. And then start to just look at the back of that card and just start to see if you can remote view what's on the what the number is on that card. And you'll start to see the different shapes and everything, and then that will help you start to gauge when you start to remote view other things in other places that you can't just flip it over. That will be a good practice, because after a while you'll start to see what is the image and what is the other interference from the card or your emotions. And that's a good little practice tool to then utilize when you're just playing around or just for fun. Just in those moments when you're not making such a big deal and maybe blocking yourself, just saying, okay, here are 3, I'm going to focus on this one. And then you give yourself that time and you look at it and then you note down what it is and then you turn it over. And that's how you can start practicing, engaging and training with yourself, and then practicing on a little bit further. I mean, we've had a lot of fun with that, and you know,
and
it's fun.
There's other types of techniques that you can do that help you get to the oracle of the self, where you've gone into the level of knowingness where you trust your empathic skills, you trust your heart skills and your intuitive skills to come up with something that is the right answer. And that's the precipice of trust that we faced. And one of those things that's common tool sets that are out there are cards or ruins or I Ching. Those are all systems of knowingness that create patterns. Like if one does the I Ching and you get the set of teachings and you read it and it directly applies to your day, you are allowing that system to help you. One can create their own system that is the oracle to the self. You know, again, and it's a matter of choice of what you want to put your belief system into, because it is knowing your levels of beliefs and what your belief systems are and how you've taken teachings from other belief systems determines how the perception filters that you have help you determine if what you see is what you believe, is what is true, is what you write down. Does that help?
Well, that's awesome.
There you go.
There's also...
I tend to go by the feeling, too. I mean, I picked up on the feeling.
Is it a body feeling or a heart feeling?
It's a heart feeling. It's like a knowingness. It's like I find myself, I'll doubt myself, and then I'll say, you know what, that was my initial thought.
Right.
It goes back to the old saying.
Hesitation.
You know, go with your first impression.
So what I can help you out is when you're trying to get into the zone to go do a remote view, imagine your heart chakra having 2 shades of green, one really dark green and one really like a lime green. And I want that to be like 10 inches around your heart, like a big heart chakra. Just get it bigger and bigger and bigger until it reaches your throat and it reaches to just below your solar plexus. And what you're doing is you're bringing the center of your energy from their body up a whole octave degree, so more of your upper body is more with your spirit. And with that heart-paced center, that heart going up in the open energy, you'll have more of a chance to jump through that hesitation energy. Hesitation is that string that attaches to your back that stops you like dead in your tracks. And when you have more energy, you have more string to go forward. And sometimes that's all you need, is just enough chances to know every time I jump in the water, I'm not gonna fall and hurt myself. You know, the water is always deep enough. Or I can always jump and make it no matter how distance is, because space is no distance. You have that trust in yourself.
You know, Andrew, you just answered one of my questions that I had, because I had no idea what to expect with this, you know, whole thing, and we were told to write some questions down, and it was to talk about the heart space, because it seems so vitally important. And in going into your heart space, sometimes I'm wondering, do you go in it as if you're looking out of it? Really, really, really cool.
Yes. I have actually described that on other shows, right? I tell people to, yes. It is these 2 eyes have to figure out in imagery how to be down here to the left and right of the heart, the 2 ventricles on the 2 sides. Bloop, 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 bloop. And then they'll go like this. And then your 3rd eye will be there. And you'll have 2 eyes and a 3rd eye. That is the imagery that you're trying to create from here to here so that there is a link. These still work and this still works. And then after a while, literally, it'll feel like your brain sinks down and goes into your heart. Before you were a human being fully grown, you started out as a heart. And then the spine grew up and a little piece of brain grew there, and then that's where you have a piece of brain on your heart, and then the skull grew and the head grew and the brain grew. So you are returning to that 0 point in the fetus. And yes, you can have this I am presence technological vision in this I am presence technological result of now and in the past at the 0 point of the fetus, because at the 0 point of the fetus has already experienced the void energy of the birth.
You know, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, I've listened to so much of your stuff, and I said, I know he's going to say I've said this before, but I never heard you say it like that. Makes perfect sense to me.
Well, that's so very cool. All right, so the next thing is you also have a brain in your gut. That is something else people don't really realize. I say people, your dreaming body's in your gut. So the brain in the gut, that's the other thing you need to bring up into the heart. Okay?
The gut brain.
The gut brain. Yeah, Natalie, would you care to talk about the gut brain? You and I have had so many gut brain conversations. Guttural. I love putting her on the spot.
Yeah, the gut brain's really interesting. Sometimes when we're just getting into starting to recognize what our technology is telling us, what we're starting to really sense, we're becoming more aware of who we are and our surroundings. Some people just say they have that gut feeling, and sometimes for me, it's like a fluttering, like the butterflies are fluttering. Sometimes it's a little bit acidic. Sometimes it feels like I've got, just like the stone lying there, and I'm starting to recognize the different feelings of my gut, especially after I've done specific meditations or created tools, or we've done some alchemy on something, or clearings. Especially if we were clearing something quite dense. I'm really, really listening into my gut just to make sure there's nothing sticking. I'm clear.
Gut is linked to your parasympathetic.
Yes, and I think that's a good way of starting to see how, when you put your energy there, how aware you are of if you've activated it, if the energy has come down to that point. And another thing I wanted to talk about with the heart as well as the gut is when you're doing these exercises with your technology and your spirit, is the breathing. The breathing is key, and that was when Andrew was describing, bringing the eyes down and opening up in the heart. The way you breathe, you'll start to play around with different types of breathing. And you'll find when you're engaging in these types of getting to know yourself and then going into a focus and letting your gut connect with your heart, getting all of that information from all the different aspects of what and who you are, you'll start to find that everything starts to have a rhythm to it with your heartbeat and your breath. And all of a sudden, everything comes into a space and a time where you're just in that knowingness. And everything is confirming that within you. You just know, and maybe you won't be able to describe it in a picture or a smell, but it's just a overall understanding that is so innate in you, and you'll just call it and see it as it is. Does that help you?
Yes, that helps me a lot.
Okay.
Now, do you envision a color as you're doing that? Let's say just the yellow color as far as bringing your gut brain.
Well, no, as I was saying, you have the two eyes that align in your third eye. Well, the next process is you don't have to start with the brain to the heart. You can try to start the heart to the gut, where you bring the heart and you get it to glow really, really deep, and then you bring the heart, like the imagery of your heart, inside your lower intestinal tract. And this is what will activate pathogenic warmth, where your conception and vessel and your governing vessel will open up any ghost points and begin to release any ghost energy that you have. Ghost energy does not mean haunting. It is just the own etherical energy that was never empirically observed in yourself. It's energy you created and wasted that is in the parasympathetic that needs to be cleared out. Once you bring the heart there and you bring up warmth, your whole body warms up. People that know what biofeedback is, when you warm your hands up, that's the same thing, except you're bringing the core temperature and you're trying to share as much warmth to your body and create pathogenic warmth. Then you can go in a process of bringing the third eye into the heart. And then the third eye in the heart, and the heart itself, with the eyes that align, can move down all the way into the intestinal tract and then bond with the intestinal tract and then move back up, so you're once again heart-centric. You can take that envisionment in many different ways. You can do it from the bottom to the top and the top to the bottom, or simultaneously where they both ascend into the heart. I have a couple different meditations that bring that a different way. And what that does is allows the heart to go close and open really fast and really dislodge a lot of just crusty energy that can be around the pericardium, as well as in the lungs and the bronchioles and in the throat. Now the next step is, for this to just be manifest, it needs a way through artwork, through oral words, through singing, through painting. So it needs to manifest somehow. So having a doodle skill while you're trying to remote view, or you're trying to do any of these advanced techniques of get imagery into the other side, it's important to have that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay. Did you have any other questions?
No, those were the heart space question was important because that was something that I was struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
Is to really understand and make sure I was doing everything right. But no, I mean I'm good with that.
I got a question for you. Of all the material you've heard from me, how often does wow come to you?
Yes. Let me tell you what snagged me with you a long time ago was your consistency. I'm really good at picking out when someone might say something and then later backtrack or say, oh, you just never skip a beat. And it's always consistent. And it's just that, my gut brain telling me that, this is really good raw material. And it's your authenticity. And what gets me is your consistency.
Thank you very, very much.
I mean, you don't. I mean, and this is complicated stuff. I kind of nickname you the Sheldon of Big Bang Theory. There are just times when I'm just like, Andrew, I'm Penny. Remember, I'm Penny. And so it's just funny that way. But yeah, you're just always consistent.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you much. And thank you again. And I'm just excited to be here at this moment in time. All right, we're going to move on to the next caller. We're going to move on to Radovaj. Radovaj, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How are you doing today?
Excellent.
Can you just speak up just a little bit more?
Yes, my name is Radivoy.
Radovoy.
Radovoy.
And where are you calling from today?
Serbia.
Serbia.
Serbia, yes.
We are an
That's amazing.
international community. So you were another one of the contestants that won the Super Bowl remote view. So what kind of questions do you have for me?
Well, I have a lot of questions. I could probably make use of a private reading or something if we can arrange later. But for now, I could just make a few questions.
Okay.
Well, I'm actually, I have quite a few skills and I'm targeted individual.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of trouble with that during past maybe 5 or 6 years. And in 2009, they were attacking me really a lot.
Uh-huh.
So I had a sudden consciousness expansion, and I was getting things like many of the things that I later heard from you, I was getting them on my own, just intuitively. And in that expansion of consciousness, I started having those psychic attacks. I was seeing visions of people like talking to me and aggressively, and there was lots of energy thrown at me, and I was struggling, to even to survive it. You know, it was terrible. They were using all kind of scalar weapon on me or something like that. I don't know. So I was wondering what kind of technology and how did they discover it? I mean, I already know how that works. You know, my interest is theoretical physics, and the real one, not the CERN propaganda and fake science, but the real one, how things work. And I have a lot of, I have accomplished a lot of understanding on my own.
Okay.
But what could you tell me about where are the technologies, how do they use them, how do they?
Okay, you have a closed circuit DNA technology. On the Mystery School show, I talked about Rh negative blood, and recently I talked about A positive and B positive blood. The blood type that you have right now, along with your light body DNA and your actual DNA memories that you got from your mother and father and your DNA lineage, has created a very special frequency. And this frequency is under a family crest name. And it's a Russian Romanov family, as well as a Churchill family. I've seen this only a handful of times. When they're force marrying breeding groups between different systems of domination and control, you'll have the top breeding groups where literally they'll sell 10 daughters and 10 sons to some other breeding group, and they will transit from one place to the other with a large sum of wealth, and then they will begin breeding with the people over there, and their DNA lineage and memories won't allow other people to come in their DNA lineage bodies. You're expanded somebody else's soul family here manifest now. And it's one of the most advanced form of soul family hijacking. So you're in this situation where you are in a DNA lineage body that has been soul family hijacked, and it's not yours. You literally need to alter your DNA in the way your DNA interacts with the elemental force of nature. The very blood that you're producing now is producing a pheromone that attracts ancestral karma that is under these two family crests. So this isn't a curse, this is literally the design of the DNA skin suit. In the light type of light body you have, which is called Etoran, E-T-O-R-I-A-N, they're like a shark, except they're not predators, and they don't exactly have arms and legs. You know, have ever seen how hammerheads have intense magnetic sensories in their bodies? They're an underwater species, you know, that can sense incredible amounts of things through things in their skin. So you were targeted and attacked because the natural type of DNA that your light body wants to bring in because of the solar energy. Okay, when the sun hits you, it's telling you, hey, this is your DNA memories, this is what your light body is, and your DNA body is going, no, that's not the right stuff, and you're caught in between two worlds, the part of the world that's attacking you scalar weapon-wise to stay in a root DNA that doesn't allow change, or your natural DNA, which is a Tauran, to come through, which means you'd have like a big change in DNA strands from like 25 added strands of DNA memories. And that's huge for you to go through, and that can make it seem like you're going under heavy-duty attacks because this energy that is coming in from the sun is being blocked at literally the blood that's flowing through your heart. Do you understand that?
Yeah. So I was also having major consciousness earthquakes around the last equinox and winter solstice.
Yes, and they heavily affected you, and you probably saw lots and lots of battles then, because that is your Atorans, your sensing side going, I'm looking for truth, and by God, there's nothing that's going to stop me. And like a war correspondent, you found truth. It's all out there. I mean, there's a war going on in our atmosphere right now. We just, as a peoples, can't see it. And we've had wars there before, but it just hasn't manifested in the way this shared reality is ready to accept. And these deep sensing DNA genes that you have that are trying to emerge at a much higher DNA strand level are literally reaching into you and activating parts of you, like when certain types of colors and hues hit you. So for you, color therapy is the most absolute important thing for your consciousness exploration. You should get something that can, 7 different light bulbs, and make sure that you can have all 7 colors in a day. Or, you know, take it up a level of your own personal experimentation and figure out how to create these wavelengths on an oscilloscope or something so that you can really bathe in the energies of pure hued energy and color that is unadulterated by the belief system of reality. Getting natural sun, having full spectrum lighting around you, vitally important. It will continue to aid your DNA change, where more and more strands of consciousness will be connected to your heart. So I want to talk about being targeted, because you were actually physically targeted. I see that. And I can tell you this, you sense a lot. And as long as you are going to be the bull in the china closet when you're sensing world affairs, you're going to attract other predators. You must be much more careful in the way you sense. Where you don't want to do it from your home anymore, at least go outside your front door. And preferably go to a place that you feel safe in, and that you can do something that is ceremonial enough to keep the energy clean, so that when you leave, the energy of that experience stays there. Okay? Separate these two things from going on. And another thing, it's important to take regular opportunities to have heavy-duty salt baths whenever you're going through the higher parts of the scalar weapons, because again, they're targeting your DNA worldwide. So each individual is targeted because you have a DNA semblance or resemblance to a program that says this type of being, when this type of solar energy is coming through, must be targeted by this types of scalar weapons, and all those other beings that are around them aren't affected by the ones that are going after you, but there could be 25 people in China, 7 people in Australia, 13 people in Canada, all simultaneously being targeted too, because their DNA is the same thing, or millions or thousands at a time. So this energy that's coming into you, you can counter it by natural sunlight. The next thing is to creating your sacred space. We have to endure long moments. So when you know it's coming on, that is where you must have more force within to create the way to absorb enough sunlight energy so that it's not countering your DNA effects. So you're taking 2 steps forward and not 3 steps back. You're always taking the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 10 steps forward and 1 step back, and you are no longer robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Okay. So what are people like me, what we are capable of? I mean, if they're not targeting us, what could we do more?
When they're not targeting you, ooh.
If they were not target us,
yeah.
what could we accomplish?
Oh, amazing things. All right. So let me help you with a good metaphor. When you're not being targeted and you're in energy neutrality, meaning you found enough neutrality in yourself to go through the biggest amounts of self-forgiveness that you have, with that being said, the type of sensing being that you are, remote viewing is but a child's skill for you. You can do what's called remote experiencing, where if you had a focal point piece of crystalline technology, you could remote experience other realities in a shared format. It is as if you could holographically project yourself to any point in space-time in any point of this universe. Okay? You just need the roadmap to the individual series and sequences of times that allows your perceptions to understand what was going on 9.5 billion years ago or 9.5 billion years in the future. It is an access to the universal Akashic, which is functioning at a even deeper resonant universal frequency. So you are tuned into those universal source frequencies to sense them. And universal source frequencies constantly are pollinating planets and star systems. So when you sense pollination source energy, you can direct other consciousness exploration vessels to it, so that like bees going to get the nectar of the flowers and bringing it back to the hive can happen, because it happens on that bigger scale. Now, I could very much see you as like an astrogator on a great spaceship. Easy, because you are so hypersensitive to the environmental expressions that are there.
Yeah, that does not surprise me at all. So there is one more thing interesting I saw. It's like I was trying to fall asleep, and I closed my eyes, and in front of my eyes, in the third eye vision, I saw 3D holographic reality. It was something like 3D animations or cartoons, but it was really hologram somehow. And I could say a thought word, just word in my mind, and I could hear the what's perceived. Like you can say a plane, and I could see a plane on the airport. I could say a car, and I would shift. The whole hologram, it analog would shift to some other vision. And then I saw a being, an alien being, and it handed a red crystal to me in that vision. And I absorbed that like a key. And a few more times I saw that 3D holographic reality. And I'm not sure, is it something that is it technology that affects people? Or
all right, just how I just told you about remote experiencing, somebody remote experienced you. Okay? So imagine what I just said before, remote experiencing. You can tune anywhere into the universe. An individual being had your DNA frequency and was able directly to tune into you as a source frequency being manifest on Earth through your actual magnetic resonance, and communicate to you in that vision and hand you that red crystal, because that red crystal was your soul shard energy. It has been maintaining in its DNA memory, and it owed it to you as a debt. So inside those crystals were all of the memories that you've had. And you have others that are going to offer that to you, because you are in that crest energy where the debt works at a really unique way. When you have that kind of family crest that's functioning through you. I'm trying to give language and associate to the infinite patterns that are going through here. Like one of the other callers had said is in consistency, what I see, how do I describe this? Is this flow of information from all his past, present, and future lives. And at the same time, I'm trying to read and communicate to this person and communicate to the audience at the same time, and create a resonant frequency pattern that allows this level of understanding to come through. We have a targeted individual that is a mass sensor, and he's in a part of a DNA frequency that's in a family crest scenario that is enforcing debt karma on his soul, preventing his sensors from having that fullest ability. At the same time, the energy of the sun trying to change his DNA, and the DNA itself going, no, you're in the wrong thing, back and forth fight. And he's been going through this for a long time. And for him to get to this next level is to absorb enough sunlight so that as the DNA in the blood says this, that he can begin to reprogram it at the water level. Water is programmable, completely programmable. The little water bubble, and under hyper pressure, we can create endless amounts of elements. Water at a certain degrees of temperature has a fourth phase of water. Water is the nature of this reality. It's how the elemental skin suit and the DNA skin suit function with one another. So for you, sir, water and sun, learn to reprogram the waters of your heart, the waters of your gut, the waters of your brain, the waters of your lymph nodes. Make active meditations that guide your voice and heart space to your lymph nodes, to your actual blood, to say, no, I'm allowing my natural resonant frequency coming from the sun, the light of the sun, to create my natural DNA frequency. DNA is transferred via light, not all of these sexual reproductions. That's just the lineage technology. And you have so many more strands of DNA that are going to be activated once you can do that. Clear out your waters. Figure out a spiritual way to create spiritual alchemy in this body and prevent the physical body from going into negative and stay alkaline.
Okay.
Okay. Did you have any other questions?
Well, I got a lot, but we cannot do them now. So I don't know. Maybe you can ask me something.
Yeah, all right. Hold on a second. Let me look. What is this? Flowers. Castle. I'm counting your epochs, 9, 12, 4 epochs. Here we go. So about 44,000 years ago, you were living in what we'll just describe as Indonesia, Malaysia, Indonesia. The world is very, very different then. The water level is much higher than it is today. You're living in a culture that still has Atlantean technology left, crystalline technology over in it. The island chain that you live on is pretty big. It's about the size of Germany, one big hunk of an island. And it has these long, how do I describe these? Fjords that are on all of the coasts. And these fjords are actually created by hand technology. They house flying vessels and water vessels that go deep under the ground. And you're part of this leftover reality that figured out how to fortify itself from hundreds of thousands of years of orbital bombardment. And they're trying to reseed the oceans with like a shrimp and a shrill. And at the same time, they're trying to introduce new souls into becoming larger ocean predators because there was a big breakdown in the oceans between one of the battles between some other species. And they're trying to rapidly grow species into bigger stuff by holding them out of dimension and then bringing them into the waters around the Malaysian type area so they could mass seed this area. And you are a part of this project, a rather important person, one of many. This dream of reseeding the oceans, it even comes up in your soul frequency now about learning how to take what man consciously knows about science and fully apply it to the full microcosm that is our ocean and everything that's underneath it and how it interacts to everything above it in the quantum and the quanta. You know, all quantum interaction is through observance, and once we begin observing our ocean and allowing our consciousnesses to be a part of that observance through daily interaction with it, we'll begin to alter our oceans. And this is something that you discovered on one of the particular projects that you would do was you would have like these live streams of psychic information, like there'd be these big fish that would be psychically hooked up to these, I would just say, psychic cameras, and people from other worlds can go into this fish's vision and see what their world was like. And you made sure that there were quantum observers from tens of millions of worlds helping these fish that were rapidly getting age, getting authentic soul age by having other beings bear witness to their existence.
Well, that's interesting. How did I get here then?
Long story short, a big explosion on a planet that you were on that created a timeline genocide. You were part of the Fotor species at that point in time. The Fotor, the best way that I can describe them is like a beetle. They're not a bug, more like a beetle. And they've got these sensing things on top of them. Anyways, they're a high technology species, and they interact with the Arcturians and all of the other top 25s. their world was blown up, which created massive ripple effects that caused an uncreational event, and bang, you're in the galactic ascension machine. Don't let the horde door hit you in the ass. You know, you're stuck. Like a lot of other people, they were on worlds that were destroyed. That's why they're using propaganda of world destruction against us now.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to move on to the next caller. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
So just go look at the next
The
caller.
next caller is Christy, I believe. I got it.
There you go.
Caller, are you there?
Hello?
And this is Christy?
Hello? This is Rachel.
Rachel. Okay, Rachel. There we go. How you doing today?
I'm really happy. I'm very excited to be on the show.
We,
A little nervous.
well, don't be nervous. You only have the Akashic record of this world and 20,000 other worlds open to you. What are you nervous about?
I'm excited. You and Natalie have, I don't want to say idols because that sounds very immature, but given me so much hope and have just validated so much for me that I'm in awe a little bit to be on the show with you.
Well, thank you. So what about the material jumped out at you?
Well, everything. But you asked other callers. I have struggled with the chemtrailing in my area, and one day it was really, really heavy, and I came in line, and I was like, there's got to be a prayer. There's got to be something that someone has found that helps. And I started looking up for prayers, and then I thought, maybe I should just revoke it. And I looked up revocations, and I found the spiritual contract revocations. And that was how I found y'all. And,
Really? So you hadn't
and I was
seen a show. You
Yeah.
hadn't seen a show. You just it came through the revocations. Interesting.
Yeah, that's how I got called in, and I was just like, I read them, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, that blew my mind. And then I started watching the Lance White series, and then I've been hooked.
Then you've been hooked. Well, a lot of people have come from the contract revocations that have never heard anything about galactic history or any of the readings that I've done, because it's a powerful, powerful stuff. Anyway, so what kind of questions do you have for me?
I would like to ask about where I'm living now in the Appalachian Mountains in western North Carolina, and I feel and sense dragons a lot here, and I know you had mentioned in the webinar that this was one of the places they were, and I guess I'm wondering if I'm here to connect with them, or like why do I sense them so much and feel their presence? Just curious about the Appalachians and the dragons.
All right, you're actually more connected to a shape-shifting species that's like a mix between like a big cat and an elk. The Appalachian and an elk. It's a species that only lived here for a very short period of time. All right. The Appalachian Mountains are another place where womb chakras exist. So the dragons were the base elemental energies that created the mountains, that interact with the DNA skin so that they can make those mountains resonating technology for consciousness to attract organisms to live there and inherently create ancestors there. You are attracted to that place because of the ancestral connection. The dragons are they're part of that initial film that's there. You have a direct ancestral connection to this cat elk kind of thing. It's like, think of a saber-toothed cat with a big elk rack on it.
Whoa.
All right? So it has two levels of nastiness to it. And it is a predator that could run really fast, jump really tall, but it is a shape shifter. It stays in that cat elk form when it is mating in its true DNA lineage form. By the time they're 5-7 months, you know, they're no longer able to hold their original form. They start to begin to shapeshift, and they begin to mimic the DNA species of many other beings. And what this cat elk example was, It was looking for beings that were going through extinction. Their DNA species was never going to go. If you could meet them and mimic their DNA, you could keep their species out of extinction for another generation. So that particular shape-shifting species was targeted because they were forcing extinction on thousands of different species at that time. So that type of light frequency of shape-shifting exists, and that's why you're in the Appalachians right now.
Whoa, awesome. Sometimes I feel like I'm going extinct.
You're coming of age as a male born in, I'm going to call it southern Spain, above Gibraltar, and this is like wine country, and you're like a 13-year-old, and your father has given you your first set of hives for you to hold on to your own. Your father has hives, and he is telling you to go out and get your own contracts. And your soul doesn't understand what contracts are. You're just trying to feed the family. And you take your hives into a wild berry area, and the hives grow really fast. And your father asked, who did you go? And you just said, they fed on these wild hives, and look at the amount of honey I have. And he says to you that it's not about the amount of honey, it's who you made money from. And you have this conversion of money and honey right there that begins to confuse you. And you grow into your 20s, which at that time was a good life. And you begin to break down honey is not money and money is not honey, as you began to awaken to more and more of the teachings of the bees. The church was around at that time, and as long as you prayed the way they wanted, did what they wanted, they were fine. They didn't have a problem with you and being around bees and creating honey for them, as long as you didn't create an energetic threat to them. Well, you began to wonder what was the threat that was out there, and you began to sleep with your bees, like out really close to their hives, not something totally unusual, but you began to learn to dream with them, and you began to learn esoteric practices. You were able to see through the eyes of the bees that were miles away as they were feeding on flowers. You began to remote control different parts of bees in the bee hives, and it was very obvious, just like a master animal trainer has a horse do exactly the moves that he wants. You were able to do the moves with the bees. And as this began to go further and further, the local church discovered this about you, and they essentially wanted to burn you at the stake. But you were saved by a group of other beekeepers who knew eventually, every generation that in a certain area, the bees connect to someone. And they got you out of Lower Spain and brought you into Algeria, which was a much more Moorish area, and you set up beehives there. You lost, some of your relatives and stuff, but you survived with your family intact there, and you began to make an even bigger beehive, hundreds and hundreds of hives. And then a general came to you and wanted to turn these bees into weapons that he could use against the Navy, and you refused. And the general went to go strike you down, and he couldn't. His energies was just pulled out of him, as he had been, stung by a million bees psychically, instantly. And the Army let you go, and you didn't know what was going on. So your connection to bees is they have been saving your life many, many hundreds of lifetimes in a row. And to add to that part of the story, you ended your life deeply, deeply connected to bees. And when you passed on, you went and had your life review, and you came back into beehives all over the world and spent nearly 300 years living as maybe 5,000 or 10,000 different beehives spread around the world, observing the world through the eyes of the bees and the beekeepers.
Yay! That's so beautiful.
Beehive and make a neck pouch out of it. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. What other kind of questions do you have?
Well, this brings me to connecting with the earth. I have a real passion for nature, and the bees came, but flowers and dirt, rocks, crystals, trees, and I've just been feeling like I want to do more with the earth and how I could, maybe even help her, with the pollution, like the fracking and the chemtrails and just things like that, logging. Like, what could I do to, just to help more?
What you can do is heal yourself first. And it's almost cliched, Natalie. I mean, how many times do we have to say, when I get that question, you have to heal yourself first, because once you heal yourself, you can heal a million others. Now, healing yourself comes in many different forms.
The earth heals me.
It does. So freeing yourself up and getting more into your own personal I am self ceremony is very vitally important for you. Learning to create tinctures of healing energy that you can give to yourself at a future date, where you have programmed that energy for you to take in. Learning the color therapy at an advanced level, whether it's you painting walls or you painting your body. You need new colors that come in all the time, and you're constantly moving through the different shifts of frequencies. Stagnancy is your biggest enemy.
Awesome. I'm getting ready. I'm excited for your alchemy teachings, and I'm also getting ready to start another alchemy program online. And I've just been really drawn to that and working with the planets and working with the plants, so on that level. But I was wondering, is the ultimate goal of alchemy different for each individual, or what is the end result?
The end result for alchemy is having a daily set or weekly set or monthly set of habit patterns that bring balance to oneself, or put oneself into polarity so balance can be achieved later. to put oneself in a creation mode where you're interacting with the elements of nature so future generations may have access to something that's an unlimited source. Because alchemy is the source of yourself, to be creation for yourself, shared reality, and the source inside your source, which is your source self from spirit, that is also guiding a bigger habit pattern of the being that you are. So when we have daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly habit patterns that deeply reflect the natures of alchemy, like in spring in winter you use your canned foods, or because pickling is its own version of alchemy. Creating alcohol is alchemy. Textures out of a smoke that's scraped off of silver. Learning how to combine different herbs and plants in medicines. That is also very, very powerful for you. Just having that experience. I mean, the other thing is water is programmable, and it's Appalachia. It's got to be colder than a witch's titty in a brass bra in December there, huh?
It's pretty cold. It's probably in the 20s right now.
Okay.
30,
Lots of snow?
low 30s, high 20s.
Lots of snow?
We got 5 inches yesterday.
I want you to go out after this call at some point and make a snowball.
Okay.
And that is programmable water in your hand.
Okay. Cool.
What would you program into that snowball?
I would get really present and know them, I think. But maybe something that could help me to claim more of my I am presence in this life.
Okay.
In my daily life. Yeah.
All right, so this is what I want you to do, is to make that snowball and do what you just said, and then bring that snowball in and put it in a saucepan and melt it.
Okay.
And then I want you to put it back outside and freeze it again and make it into a snowball again. And I want you to do that several days in a row. And then when you're done, I want you to drink it. Do you have the trust of yourself to take your own energy after you've done that? And if you don't want to use a saucepan, use a glass pan. Whatever. It'll melt quick. That's the trust of the self. That's your own test. Is it working? What is it going to do to me? How much of my old energy is going to come through? What do I want to give my future self that's going to ingest this pureness, programmed by my own water? It is that easy. So many people out there reprogramming yourself. It's just conscious application of the sacred. And then building a strategy. So what other kind of questions do you have?
Just focusing on the I am.
The I am is your anchor, so all of the colored experiences can be viewed in a spiritual expression that shares with the physical body. There are times the I am presence doesn't need to know full levels of information, and it just needs short synopsises, which allows the spiritual body to give you heart vision to go and have a mystical experience. And then there are other times that the I am presence has been so cut off from the rest of the spiritual experience that it only gets to lucid dream once or twice or share in a dream experience. By exercising the technology of the I am presence, the body begins to go through heavy-duty healings of psychic traumas that it went through when the I am presence wasn't there and the body was taking the damage and the hit. So by bringing the I am presence technology to those mystical experiences, the mystical experiences get even more potent.
Can I picture that, like, in my heart center?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine your own face looking out of your heart.
Okay.
You know, women have breasts, and the breasts are the reflection that the baby drinks of their I am presence. So you have a heart with 2 breasts in the woman, and that is your image. That is your love image, minus any sexual expression. Here's your pure feminine interaction love image of your own smiling image of your face, your residual face image coming out of your heart. And yes, men can do that too. You know, getting that heart smile every day isn't easy. I went through years of smiling training from my I think you need to challenge yourself that too. Okay. What other kind of questions do you have?
I was just listening about your dreaming. You went pretty deeply into dreaming, and a question came up for me, and I saw it later, so I couldn't ask in the chat. So let's say people come to you quite frequently. They come to me and they say, "Oh, you were in my dreams. Oh, I saw you in my dreams." And I'm wondering, like, are we just sharing the local reality, or do we have like a connection, or are we just hanging out in the same astral places? Like, what is that about?
When people show up in your dreams, there's two things are happening. It is a self-revelation dream where your own self has recreated the residual image of something that's meant through some form of teaching to yourself, or you're actually sharing that dream space with that person. In the vast majority of the times, it's yourself creating the image of that other person in the shared dream experience. And at other times, you have people that are sharing themselves. You're not sharing this reality. You're sharing an expression of an experiential body that is out of phase with the I am present self, that is going through higher levels of consciousness exploration in the dream world. And somehow the body must have a memory of it. And when we are awake and we're going to sleep, and then we're asleep and we're going to awake, the body goes through a phase where there's a limited amount of infinite dream world download into the DNA memory, so you have full memory of what was going on in your dreams. So many people are disconnected from that process, that first 10 minutes of the day, that's their only chance to even remember anything of their dream. And if they can't figure out a way to record it, that energy is essentially lost to the I am presence. But it is still there. Learning to reconnect to it is absolutely vital. The energy is always residually there. And by taking all of our residual energy that has no equation attached to it anymore, we can collate it around our heart, our sacrum, and once again begin to use our own energy to create mystical experiences in the future.
Yeah. So I go and visit people a lot, apparently, or they're just having residual energy about me.
No.
I guess, 'cause
No, you individual, you're a traveler. You're a traveler energy. Okay?
Okay.
I don't want to use the wrong word. There's such a polarity that I don't want to create. All right. There are times that both men and women become very loving. And there are times that they will go visit other beings who have been under attack, and they'll love them, and then they'll get very attached to them in their dream world. And then that spiritual body will become a bit bloated on that love energy, and the other physical part of your body won't have as much love energy as that spiritual body. And you'll become a little stalker-ish of that other love person until they get attacked again, and then there's this big bursting of energy. So you have these over-amorous energies that come for other non-physical entities at times, or physical entities, but you're only experiencing them non-physically, and you are experiencing their traumas and pains and rapidly defending them. So that's that core issue there.
Is there a way to work on healing that?
Aligning yourself to the center of your heart, that's the one expression. The bigger thing is you need to detox your aura each day. You need to figure out a way that you can, I'm not talking about full detox. This is auric detox for you. Like the imagery that I have right now, I've got the solar flares all going around me and different thing, and Natalie right over there. That is an auric expression. You have things in your aura that like hair needs to be combed out, like burrs in it, or little rasta things that are stuck there that dense energy can attach to. So it's time to think of a way to have spiritual hygiene for your aura. Maybe take out the comb, the special comb that you have, and use it to rub 1 inch above all over your body, just as if you were caressing your own hair with your favorite brush.
Okay. Yeah, I used to have dreadlocks, but I don't have them anymore.
There was also a one that we talked about for clearing the aura, which was like that when you're standing under a shower.
Well, thank you, y'all. You've given me a lot to chew on.
Well, you are.
For you being able to give the audience all of this and be able to emancipate it in such a way, you know, with so much detail now, it's so exciting. I'm so jazzed about it.
Yeah, and Emancipation Nation.
Emancipation Nation.
Exactly. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. We will catch you this coming Saturday for...